the mainstream news media for constantly giving free press and normalizing Trump's horribleness.
Yeah.
But so if and it does make me feel uncomfortable that in my country that a fascist racist could become president, right? And there's people lining up behind him, governors of states, and this guy, but you got to.
And inauthentic people are, especially politicians. So I remember the first general election that I covered with the Young Turks was when Hillary was battling Obama in the primaries, and as soon as Hillary lost the primaries, she was all of a sudden saying these really kind, nice things about President Obama, right? And it's like, but just like a month ago, you were saying some pretty hideous things about President Obama, or at that time he wasn't president, but I just remember getting very turned off to politics because of that.
That's interesting because, as I said, it's pretty standard, and that was a pretty vicious primary campaign. It was again, we've now put that in perspective, it was 1/9 as vicious as this Republican campaign, and it was still pretty vicious comparatively, but that did turn people off. And so I think, in a sense, that this is, first of all, we know from Ben Carson, if we're to believe what we believed in the beginning, didn't ever really think he had a shot at being president. It was an opportunity to sell books. Then here's why he wouldn't be silent. Now this is slander. This is just more opportunity to sell books. And you have press conference, people go, you're running out of moments where the national media will come listen to what you have to say. Mm-hmm. So this is the last opportunity for Carson to do that. So I'm not surprised. Yeah. But I like the idea that maybe young people will get turned off of the process. I don't think there are a ton of young. Well, we know Trump has got some young voters, and there is a school of thought that there are some, if Bernie Sanders isn't the nominee, that some Bernie Sanders supporters will go to Trump because there is a similarity in tone and rhetoric, and that your jobs and you got screwed, even though, of course, the manner of the kind of president they'd be is a dramatic.
He's the only other person speaking to those issues of working white, blue-collar people. That's right.
Right, and also, look, I know what you're talking about. There was a recent poll. I don't quite remember who did the poll. But
I haven't seen a poll. I just saw something.
Yeah, there's a poll on this. Maybe you saw it, John. 33% of the people who support Bernie Sanders said that they would not vote for Hillary Clinton in the general election, which is disastrous. I mean, I don't agree with that position because I think that having Trump as our president would be
and it also you say that now in the middle of it, and theoretically, let's pretend that Hillary wins, and if Bernie says what he's, there's no candidate who's more a man of his word that we've seen running in some time than Bernie Sanders. He said he'll support the nominee. I think he'll do it enthusiastically. Some of those 33% are going to get convinced by the same guy they support. They're going to get convinced by Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, that number. It sounds big, but I have to imagine that as the campaign goes on, people see Trump.
But people hate her, so some people won't vote.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons we don't want her to be the candidate. Especially with independents, we don't think she's going to do that well.
I haven't seen John's poll, but 33% of
You're trying to say there's problems. I guarantee there's no problem.
That's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's fake, and unfortunately, in the case of it being Ben Carson has a million different faults that we've expounded on over the course of the past 6 months or so. But he is still seen as a nice guy overall.
And it's good
that when you get a nice guy to say this complete racist asshole is a nice guy, then you spread the nice guy around. And also, when the country at large has this window where maybe we'll do something about police brutality, and Trump is coming out and saying all lives matter, and oh God, why don't we praise the cops enough?
Most mistreated people in the country.
Most mistreated, and then you have an incredibly respected and prominent African American politician saying he's the guy to go to. That's bad. It provides cover for some of Donald Trump's worst characteristics.
You think? What is wrong with this Ben Carson? The one thing Trump was right about, this guy is pathological. He is a maniac. He doesn't have a core. He doesn't have morality. He doesn't have a center. I think he wanted to endorse Donald Trump just to confirm everyone's doubts that he's a bullshit Christian that doesn't really give a crap about anything except himself, and he just may be a maniac. Are you telling me he's a super Christian? That's where all his base comes from, being a super Christian. You read his book, it's about being a super Christian. All that stuff, and he's going to endorse this guy who's encouraging people to beat the crap out of black people. He has the Secret Service go out and do his racist errands for him. Go get rid of those 30 black people. If you see any people look like Muslims or Mexicans, throw them out too. Thank you, United States Secret Service people.
Why don't I transition, because we've got the attacks now, if that's what you wanted to talk about. Yeah, so why don't we start up in that, because that's what I want to talk about today. No, we're going to that topic right now.
And the mainstream news media, I'm watching CNN. I'll shut up.
No, I want to hear it, but I just want it to come after the introduction to that video. That's all.
Okay, you're right.
And I'm going to try to not be smiling or blushing at the beginning of a very sad video. Donald Trump has obviously gone way too far when it comes to encouraging his supporters to attack or even possibly kill protesters at his rallies. It's just editorializing? Okay.
Maybe he hasn't gone too far. Let's let the viewers.
Let's let the viewers decide, and they will be able to, because we're going to show some video. Now, you've probably seen our videos covering this. Thankfully, the media has been covering that. There's been a string of first just unnecessary ejections of silent protesters from Trump rallies, and then moving into racial slurs being tossed at them, and now just simply bodily attacking them, punching them in the face when the cops are escorting them. And so people are worried about that, because we don't want that to be what American political demonstrations are like in America. And so at last night's debate, Jake Tapper decided to bring up the topic with Donald Trump, where he now has an opportunity to denounce that and to say his supporters need to dial it back. Let's see what he does. Do you believe that you've done anything to create a tone where this kind of violence would be encouraged?
I hope not. I truly hope not. I will say this. We have 25, 30,000 people. You've seen it yourself. People come with tremendous passion and love for the country. And when they see protests, in some cases, you're mentioning one case, which I haven't seen. I heard about it, which I don't like. But when they see what's going on in this country, they have anger that's unbelievable. They have anger. They love this country. It's a beautiful thing in many respects, but I certainly do not condone that at all, Jake.
They've had that anger,
since at least desegregation.
Yeah, certainly since the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah, so the 70-year-old man, we were talking about this at the production meeting, 78. So he's 78, he sees a black protester being ejected, the police have him, he's being let out, and he runs up and punches the guy in the face. So when desegregation happened,
somebody in the
face? Punched a black protester.
78 is like the new 65.
Yeah, so how old was he when the Civil Rights Act passed?
The Civil Rights Act passed 35, 51 years ago.
Yeah, so maybe he had a problem with it back then. Maybe he has been angry for a long time, but maybe it doesn't have so much to do with the current economic state of America. More it has to do with he doesn't see that person as an American in the same way that he is.
If you saw the video, I'm sure you guys showed it yesterday during the regular show.
Yes.
That the cops arrested the guy who got punched in the face.
Yeah.
There's two cops right behind that guy. They see that guy come over, punch him in the face, and they don't do a goddamn thing. In fact, what they do, they literally picked up the guy who got punched in his face and threw him down on the ground.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's what the white cops at the Trump rally. Again, it's weird to see law enforcement who works for the state or works for the federal government, right, Secret Service, doing these racist errands for a fascist.
Yeah.
That is the weirdest thing. At some point, I think the government can say, you know what, we're not going to be your bouncers anymore, at your hate rallies.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird that they have to be bouncers for Donald Trump? And it's super, super weird that the Secret Service kicked those people out before the event even started. That at a college that they were students at. So that's what, at some point, I don't know, Barack Obama has to do something. Who's in charge of the Secret Service? They shouldn't be doing that. There's a big problem in this country. Like, this is really happening. This guy could really become president. There's people already beating the shit out of Mexicans and Muslims in the name of Trump. Trump won't denounce any of it. And still, Morning Micah and Joe Ball are like, hey, he's all right. He's okay.
Yeah, I don't think we can gloss over it. We can't. His answer, that again, it's simply that they love America so much. That's why they feel the need to run up on somebody being escorted away by the police to punch him in the face when he's defenseless. Like, he keeps saying, not only will I not say that they're wrong, but they're doing what they're doing because they're better patriots than the rest of you. They see what's going on.
It's a way of, obviously making it seem as though that issue was not something violent or brutal. It was something that was done out of love. Basically he's just making this an innocent situation when in reality he's making us go back decades. From the progress that we've made when it comes to race relations. We're supposed to have a leader in this country that fights back against violence, fights back against discrimination, not endorses it or advocates for it. And that's exactly what Donald Trump does. And he has emboldened people who have been lurking in the shadows, who have been afraid to really represent who they are, and they're coming out and they're acting hatefully. They're not only saying terrible things, they're behaving in terrible ways, hurting people because of the color of their skin, because of any type of political opposition. Trump is a dangerous person, right? And the only, silver lining that's come out of this is he has made our terrible race relations very transparent. For all the people who have, watched the stories that we've done about racism and discrimination in the country and have accused us of race baiting, well, do you really think that we've conquered race relations in the U.S.? Because this is a perfect example of how we have it.
Yeah. And does anybody think that, if you're a Trump supporter and you watched his answer there, well, you love Trump, you want Trump to think that you're full of passion, that you love America, well, then you better start attacking people. Well, really fast, just because in my intro I implied that he was encouraging it, I want to make sure that people understand that I'm not exaggerating there. Previously, and Jake Tapper brought this up in his follow-up to the answer, where
I was going to say, I didn't see the debate last night. What was critical there is you got to give Trump somewhat of a pass on the answer. He's not going to take ownership of it.
No, he has to say nobody can attack anyone at any rally, especially mine.
He could say that, but he's going to minimize it. That's his job. It's his expectation as a presidential candidate, a hateful presidential candidate. So I was hoping that there was a significant follow-up of Tapper to be like, okay, well, you can't, because that would have been a great point.
And you're right. And I remember during the debates when Hitler downplayed Auschwitz. It was really good. The way he did it was he had to do it. He had to do it. You got to give him a pass.
So Jake Tapper did follow up with a couple of the statements that Trump had said in the past. He said there may be somebody, he didn't read the entire thing, but there may be somebody with tomatoes in the audience. If you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of him, would you? Then he went on to say, I'll pay for your legal troubles, I'll pay for them. On February 22nd, he said of a protester, I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you. And so up until there, he's simply saying, I would like to beat the protesters at my rallies. So yesterday, we have the attack, and thankfully the cops eventually arrest the guy who punched the protester. Beforehand, that guy had been interviewed, and in his interview, he said, we had to punch the guy because he might be ISIS, and next time we might have to kill him. There is no chance in the world. I will admit that maybe Trump hadn't heard that by the time they went to the debate, but he knows about it now. And so this morning he goes out and he does a rally, and this is what he tells his supporters.
Let me just tell you, we've had some violent people as protesters. They're not just people saying, oh, these are people that punch. These are people that are violent people. But we've had a couple that were really violent. And the particular one, when I said, like to bang them, that was a very vicious, he was a guy who was swinging very loud and then started swinging at the audience. And you know what? The audience swung back. And I thought it was very, very appropriate. He was swinging, he was hitting people, and the audience hit back. And that's what we need a little bit more of.
That's what we need a little bit more of. So we've never seen any evidence of people going and starting swinging. They do silent protests. And his supporters are saying we might have to kill people now. And he goes out and says, we need more of that.
So at what point do we all as a society point our fingers at not. I'm talking Donald Trump. We know who Donald Trump is, but we point our finger at the people who let him phone in to meet the press.
Yeah.
That is bullshit. You know, Lawrence O'Donnell tweeted out, and Lawrence O'Donnell I like him, and he actually is the one guy who goes right after Trump at MSNBC. But he was tweeting out about, how should we handle this pathological liar? The media doesn't know how to handle this pathological liar yet. And I'm like, well, have you tried airing all his speeches uninterrupted without commercial interruption? Has that worked? So what I'm saying is, at some point, you have to risk losing your job to save the country from fascism, right? Would you have
the job of the press.
Would you have risked losing your cushy television job to call out people who were supporting Hitler in the 1930s? Because, I guess, Godwin's Law does not apply anymore because this guy's really a fascist and they're really beating the shit out of minorities, okay? And they're doing it with the help of the press. Les Moonves was caught on audio cheering on Donald Trump. Go, baby, he's good for business. And giggling over about fascism being good for business, right? So at some point, we have to, as a society, say Joe Scarborough, it shouldn't be allowed in polite society. Chuck Todd needs to not be allowed in polite society anymore. I'm telling you, this is, how do you stop this? When he becomes president, are you going to be, they're not going to ever hold his feet to the fire. No. So at some point, the media, and CNN, by the way, I was watching CNN yesterday, they bring on this guy, this Andy, the guy who said that progressives were the KKK?
Yeah. CNN's election analyst.
He's CNN's election analyst. They brought on two people like that, and the other woman was saying, well, what about if you're going to call out protesters at Trump's rallies with people beating up protesters, are you going to be why didn't Barack Obama call out the Black Panthers? This is the kind of level of discussion that's being treated as real discussion on CNN.
They put ties on commenters on the internet.
Yes,
and they bring them on.
It's a YouTube comment section that CNN, exactly what you said. They put a suit jacket on and go, here, sit down, you're the news. And then they have two, and they make it look like it's just the other side of the argument. Who's right, who's wrong? I guess we'll never know.
Violent protesters. First of all, we didn't talk about the fact that I think it's weird that Donald Trump just came out and said that he wanted to bang that guy.
Yeah, I know, it's incredible, and he gets a passport. No one challenges him.
He was making a sexual joke. But you're making a good point.
You're making a good point. So continue with your good point. Yeah.
Sorry. No, I'm outraged. I'm really getting pissed off of your comedy right now, man. I'll tell you that.
I'm not outraged. I'm outraged about the media not calling him out on his violent rhetoric, right? I think you're absolutely right. I think that there are some media outlets that maybe challenge him a little bit, but I feel like they walk on eggshells. Why are we not allowed to be as aggressive against him as he is with his aggressive rhetoric, right? Like, why is it okay for him to say whatever he wants, regardless of how violent it is, and people who have maybe a larger platform, or maybe people who are on cable news, don't go out after him?
We need to stop expecting, we need to stop expecting cable news to be something that it isn't, has never been, and will never, ever be.
Cable news specifically?
Cable news specifically. Donald Trump and cable news, and then you can fashion the Sunday shows are just network variations.
You mean mainstream news?
Mainstream television news. Because, of course, Donald Trump, when we can find thousands of articles, being called a fascist, being with evidence to back it up, criticism of the way he's treated reporters and protesters in his rallies. There have been plenty of people writing about that. Plenty of journalists who've been on that from the get-go. Cable news never took this seriously, and in their small defense, or not defense is the wrong word, by way of explanation, we all sat here, certainly I, who think of himself as a moderately astute political observer, because I care about it and paid attention to it and grew up with it. Yeah, thanks, dude.
I have put emphasis on the moderate.
Moderately, yeah. I thought, I made a bet. I was like, he's not going to win the nomination, so you don't take it seriously. So then, in Les Moonves' mind, when he can call in, like, whatever, it's fun. And then, now we're faced with a moment where there's this moment of reckoning, which I don't even know that they're having. Doesn't seem like they're having it.
No.
Where they ought to be having a moment of reckoning with, wow, we stood by, we allowed this to happen because it was jocular and jovial and fun, and he's different.
And he made us money.
He's different, and let's not pretend that there wasn't something in us that was appealing to, because we see Hillary Clinton, we see Marco Rubio, we see Ted Cruz who go on these shows, I got it. I've seen John McCain on TV 10,000 times. It's identical to everybody else. There's no, Ted Cruz says slightly more hateful things. Hillary says slightly less hateful things, but they all they regurgitate talking points. It doesn't, nothing authentic. Then this guy comes on and he's incredibly authentic, and we're like, oh, hey, and he's famous. Oh my God.
He's entertaining.
He's entertaining.
Even though he's fake authentic.
But there's
You can't reverse yourself day after day after day, and then
But
call that,
even-
unless you think he's literally insane,
I
and
think
he's just spewing out insanity.
I think he's an unserious person. An unserious person would say one thing one minute and the other thing the next minute. I don't think it makes him insane. I think he's an incredibly unserious person and a wild narcissist with limited business success that started with a huge amount of money and turned his brand. He's a branding expert. We might elect a branding expert to be president of the United States. So, no, I don't think he's insane.
But I do think he's being authentic, but he reverses himself constantly. The only way that can be authentic is if he's literally just randomly generating.
I think what you mean is he's not canned.
He's not canned. So there's an authenticity to his character. His policies are insane, and he doesn't mean anything he says.
Okay.
But that's a different kind of inauthenticity.
Okay, I might not vote for him.
I need to jump in because I think Ben makes a really great point, especially when you say that.
Also, I was done like a minute and a half ago.
In the beginning of all of this, no one really thought, including us, that he stood a chance. And it was more, whenever he was covered, at least on our show, I feel like it was more for, he would say outrageous things, and of course we wanted to analyze it, but then there was an entertainment factor to it. No one thought that he was going to do this well in the primaries. In the beginning, I even wrote a column in Raw Story where I said that I'm not going to vote for Hillary, right? And I think part of the reason why I did that is because I just did not think that it would come down to Hillary versus Trump in the general election. Now, Bernie still stands a chance, but if someone's going to hold my feet to the fire, am I really going to not vote for Hillary Clinton and have someone like Trump become the next president of the United States? Of course, I will do anything necessary to avoid that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in California. It doesn't matter. We're going to vote for Hillary anyway.
but it is different because and again, believe me, this is not a Hillary cheerleading thing.
Yeah.
But of course, there are things. The question is, will people like us, enthusiastic Bernie supporters, and I'm going to include myself in with you guys for the purpose of this conversation, will we just go out and vote for Hillary, or are we going to engage in the things that everyone can do, which is talking to their neighbors? And in this world, our neighbors are everywhere. You're going to go on Facebook. You're going to make the case. You're going to talk to people. You're going to raise money for it. You're going to do things that in a different world would seem. Of course, you're not. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the downside to it is too severe.
Oh, I spent 6 months attacking Trump. I don't mind doing that.
I'll attack Trump and everything, but I won't vote for Hillary Clinton, and that's for real. And if Trump becomes president, then America has that coming, and maybe we have to get through that.
Yeah, I mean, there's two different schools of thought on that, right? So there's no way we can let Trump be the next president, but there's also a school of thought that if you allow that to happen and you are a hardcore Bernie supporter and you're not going to vote for Hillary and Trump does win the general election, well, things will be so crappy in this country that maybe that will eventually lead to such.
That's how we got Barack Obama. That's how we got a black guy.
But I mean, think about the kind of damage
Let me just make my really quick point. I'll make it real quick. I remember when George Bush got elected, and I remember being depressed. But I also remember thinking, well, this will be good because now the nation's going to get a good look at what it looks like to have Republicans in power. They did. People got sick of him immediately. The Iraq War, right? And he kind of got saved, in a sense, by terrorism and being at war. He would have never got reelected without a war. He would have never. So people got, and so in 2006, they turned the House, they turned the Senate, and then in 2008, we got a black guy with a Muslim name to be our president. So when people get a good look at them, they get sick of them, and it immediately enables liberalism to take place. So if we can elect another corporate Democrat, like a neoliberal, who's going to start another war, keep more wars going, spend nothing on it. She's going to do all the things that people hate. She's going to be Trump light. I don't know if Trump might even do some things that are better than what Hillary would do. I don't even know. We don't know what he's going to do, but we do know what she's going to do, and what she's going to do is keep this country going on a downward spiral. This morning she came out and complimented Nancy Reagan for publicizing AIDS, for doing her great work. I mean, what the F is wrong with this? So I'm just saying, I'm not going to vote for her. I think if she gets the president, we'll definitely lose it in 2020. We'll definitely lose it back, and so it's going to be bad. I think we That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if Trump becomes president, we still have a Senate, we still have a Congress. Okay, go ahead.
You definitely violated. I need to make a quick test.
Let me make one more quick.
No, but you know what? You made a persuasive point. So
yeah,
I'll
but
say
here's
that.
what you can't. It is a persuasive point. I think it's 100% wrong. But you cannot make these two persuasive points and be in any way consistent. You cannot say he's Hitler and then I'm not going to vote for his opponent. Like, if you really think he's Hitler and you really think it's the beginning of fascism, then you can't say, he probably loses in 2020. Hitler didn't lose. We had to go to war, and millions of people lost their lives to get rid of Hitler. If you think that comparison is apt, then you got to bite the bullet and keep fighting to make sure we stop electing corporate Democrats into the foreseeable future.
Yeah. I think I said Himmler.
But I don't think you can make both those points and be intellectually consistent.
You know what I think we should do, since we have to take a break right now? We should poll the audience and see if Bernie loses the primary, will you vote for Hillary Clinton? What do you think? We have that 33%. Let's find out what the audience
That's
thinks.
a great
And then where will we be in 4 years if when Hillary Clinton's president?
Same place we are now.
If you
A slightly larger studio.
she can't help herself. She complimented Nancy Reagan.
That's her being a fake politician who has to be diplomatic about it. Yeah.
But you can compliment her, but you don't compliment her by saying what great work she did on AIDS. That was, when she was lying in state, every time a gay person walked back, they turned her back to them just in honor of the Reagan era. That's what they did.
I got you. Well, I'm sure not every person did that.
They did. I heard they did that.
Look, Nancy Reagan was terrible the Reagan administration was a national shame on AIDS, even until the point that Ronald Reagan said in 1987, first talked about AIDS. And even then, wouldn't take C. Everett Koop's recommendation and recommendation of some people on the staff that we embrace everybody, still gave the impression that Americans would be allowed to judge gay people in the gay lifestyle. But it would appear that he wouldn't have done anything without Nancy's pushing. But I wouldn't make me praise her. That said, she did get involved with it post-Reagan presidency, and I presume that's what Hillary did.
Okay. Yes. Okay, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we've got a potential spoiler to a very important upcoming primary on the Republican side. We're going to find out about that. It is something that... I don't want to be spoiled. I'm going to leave. Don't publicize it on Twitter or anything. I want people to see it live. And then we've got much more news. Of course, we're going to be reading your hashtag TYT lives when we come back from this break. John and Hannah here.
And here's a brief look at what Think Tank's all about. Woo, 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 woo. I'm smiling. Oh my god, I'm so bright. Can a robot dance like this?
Wow.
This isn't going with the finish line. Sorry guys, don't hit me from the last Think Tank video. I'm just gonna go now.
Yeah, no, I need help.
The one thing that really appeals to people in the online audience is authenticity and sincerity.
Okay, we agree to disagree.
So of course you get the negative feedback that isn't constructive at all, and I dislike those.
Hannah looks inbred. That's really difficult for my self-esteem.
You need to lift weights. Fuck you.
Hey, let's keep it. Am I wrong?
Once I was bit by a monkey. I can't say
No big fan.
well, then. Whoa!
I used to be very socially awkward, but look at me now. What up, girl? Okay. That could look more like a vagina. Oh my god, my hand is that clitoris. You want to stab?
I want to stab people. So what really turns women on?
Anyone want to think of a weird way to fuck? This dress is blue and black.
Well, I disrespectfully disagree.
She is one of the 100 finalists for the Mars One project. I don't know what that means.
Why do you cringe every time you look at a photo of yourself?
Because I'm often masturbating in photos of myself. 2 photos of myself.
Love.
Who's about to have a
Also, masturbation totally counts as sex for you, so do it. Why you make me this weird alien?
Whoever has haughty eyes and a proud heart, I will not tolerate.
You guys tell me, hottie or not?
tune in tomorrow for all new videos with me and with Hannah and with Think Tank. Have a good night. Welcome back to the first hour of the Young Turks. It's the Friday Power Panel, and we're working through some issues on the break. But we also have some tweets from you guys. We've got a new poll up on the app, which you should, of course, go and vote on. Maybe we'll have some early returns that we can read at the end of the hour. But I want to read some of your hashtag TYT lives. Al Belso says, the media doesn't call out Trump for his hateful rhetoric because they care more about having access than reporting real news. I think that's true. I think also, though, we were criticizing them, and I was a part of this in terms of not thinking that he could win the primary. So they thought they could play and have fun.
Right.
I think most of them still think, oh, Hillary's going to win, and Hillary will destroy him. And so I think they still think he can't be elected.
Well, look, there's also the argument that he is news, and that is, in some cases is good enough for them.
I mean, you can cover him and be much more critical.
They can't. Who have they been critical of? Where is the? Have they? Look, they do essentially what we do, except they do it less honestly. They read the papers, and they go online, and they talk about those stories.
Yeah, but they talk to him.
I got it.
When he's fucking lying, cut his mic, hang up the phone.
When's the last time that happened on cable news? Never. It doesn't happen.
That's my point. It should happen.
It happened.
Wait, but I mean,
Bill O'Reilly cuts people's mics. Did they get start?
Yeah, in a sense, Fox is the only one to do it. They at least, when there's something they disagree with, they at least have the confidence to hang the phone up.
They disagree with the truth.
They disagree with sane people. That's the
Cut his mic down.
Yeah.
No.
Let's see. Julie Couch says, sounds like the Donald's favorite movie might be The Purge. Discussing human being. Was The Purge good?
The Purge Anarchy. The first Purge was bad. The second Purge was excellent.
Is that the one coming out now?
Yeah, and by the way, no, that came out last year. But the Purge, which is, you know the story of the Purge, either of you two guys?
Yeah.
No. It's the premise is that once a year, the American government, in order to eliminate the riffraff that is dragging down society with their reliance on social welfare, that once a year for 24 hours or for 12 hours, there are no crimes. Rape, murder, everything. So people lock themselves in their house, but some people go purging, and they can just kill anyone, and there are no rules.
Or rape anyone,
it's
or
a
whatever.
great premise for a movie. It's terrifying.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. But this first one was terrible. The second one was good and scary, and now you're like, I mean, it is again. I mean, Donald Trump's not going to have a purge, but it is a Trumpian plot.
Well, people go to his rally to experience the point of the purge, to get out their aggressive feelings.
If you were going to cast someone to be the president in the new Purge movie, it would be Trump or a Trump-like character. That's how he talked. That sort of bluster.
And start calling him Trump. Let's not call him Trump.
I think we have one of these tweets has Trump. Yeah.
I want to read a couple in here then.
Okay, the Crystal Paco has a good point. The guy who got punched at the Trump rally wasn't a protester. How many others have been ejected for nothing? How are they identified? And that is a good point. This happens so many times that I get them mixed up now, but many people have simply been identified as, oh, that person looks Muslim, oh, that person looks black, let's get them out of here. They don't do anything. They don't even silently protest. They're just
the cops throw them out.
Some of them Trump supporters.
And the cops throw them out.
Exactly. So what do you have?
I wanted to go with from TM here Ben Mag 77 can't call Trump a fascist and then say the alternative isn't worth voting for.
Yeah.
So, but
I disagree.
Well, clearly you disagree because you did both of those things. We were literally talking about you.
I mean,
you guys are both on the record for those comments.
But then
already.
But then it falls apart for me. So I just wanted to start with my win. Evil TYT Lizard says Jimmy Dore is spot on. I won't vote for Hillary in the general election, no matter how much Ben Mag tries to convince us Hillary is A-OK. Don't think that's what I was doing, but I get your point. John Amenta, the lesser of two evils is still evil. And Kay at Dulce Vida, which I like already, says I won't do shit for Hillary if she's the nominee. I will write in Bernie. I know people hate it when I say it, but oh well.
My friend Howard Dean, former governor of Vermont and now superdelegate, who's pledging to vote against the way his state voted for Bernie,
Yeah, but Vermont was close.
Vermont was close. He was only 82%.
Yeah, there were 16 delegates from Vermont, and Bernie only got 16.
He famously said in 2003 that if you want young people to vote, you have to give them something to believe in. If you want people over 30, half of which in America don't vote, you have to give them a reason to vote. That was Howard Dean in 2003.
That was a poorer Howard.
That was a much poorer. That was before he got the lobbying money. That was before he started working for Denton and started to work against people and sick people. Now he works to screw over sick people. Howard Dean does. So he denies. He'll vehemently deny that he's a lobbyist. But anyway, that's what he said. He said in 2003 you have to give people. So Hillary gives you no reason to vote for her, right? There's not, and that's why every Twitter kind of altercation or whatever confrontation I have with a Hillary Clinton supporter, it's never about policy. It's always about these bullshit things that look how bad Bernie supporters are. They're jerks. They're sexist. They're this. They're that. It's exactly what Jen said last week. Was that I dare you to disagree with Bernie on policy. Let's have a policy discussion. But that's what when we criticize Hillary, I'm not criticizing anything except her policy position.
So to your point, right now I'm in the middle of writing this column comparing their education policy because I feel like no one has done a comparison, right? You hear them debate, and Hillary makes it seem like she's doing something very revolutionary when it comes to dealing with student loan debt. What she is doing, I'm researching, analyzing, digging deeper into this right now as we speak, right? I should be publishing this tomorrow on Raw Story. It's the same thing, the same process that we have now with dealing with student loan debt, which is, all right, we'll forgive your debt after 20 years, but after 20 years, you forgive that debt. That's considered income by the IRS, and they're going to tax you on it. So, for instance, and they tax you with the 1099 tax form. What does that mean? That means that you are going to have to pay like an insane chunk of that money. So if it's a $40,000 student loan debt, you're going to pay $10,000 for your tax bill. That's insane.
It is.
Anyway,
and it can't be allowed. So we got to get to. I want to read the members' names because we got to get to another story or two before the hour ends. But I do want to recognize a couple of our members. These numbers are still low. You guys have been around for a long time. These numbers could soon be very high since we've been hacking so many members recently, which is awesome. Member number 1285, Marcia Legg. Member number 1286, Nina Thomas. Thank you for supporting the Young Turks. And by the way, just a little heads up for some of the live coverage we're going to be doing for upcoming primaries and debates. On Sunday, March 13th, there's a Democratic town hall starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That's Sunday. Then the next day, Monday, March 14th, there's a town hall. That's a Democratic town hall starting at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Although I believe there will probably end up being a Republican town hall as well, since there's an election next day, which we will also be covering. That's Tuesday, March 15th. Primary coverage starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. You can watch all of that at tytnetwork.com/live.
Biggest day of the election. I will be at the
So you guys should follow
But it's your first time, so you got to fit it in. That's right.
You guys should follow me on Snapchat if you're on Snapchat. Anna Kasparian, that's my handle. I just took a picture of Ben's faces. I'm always intrigued by the faces you draw during the show.
I like to doodle. I like to doodle. I like my doodle face.
Yeah, he does faces, and occasionally Jimmy Dore draws nice men's genitalia.
Yeah. Jimmy likes to draw.
From time to time.
Jimmy likes to draw.
I'll glance over and wow, particularly zany today. Weird.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to some upcoming strategy for the next primaries that are coming up. The GOP's contested convention strategy appears to still be alive and well, regardless of the very docile approach towards Donald Trump that Rubio, Cruz, and Kasich took at last night's debate. And I know that because Rubio is announcing an interesting strategy for Ohio in particular. He seems to be dropping out. Rubio told reporters he would expect anybody who doesn't want Trump to be the Republican nominee should vote for Kasich in Ohio and would vote for him in Florida because they are the candidates with the best shots at beating the billionaire in those two states, not necessarily overall. He also said, I've never talked to John Kasich about this, which appears to be true. And in response, a spokesperson for Kasich said, we were going to win in Ohio without his help, just as he's going to lose in Florida without ours.
Oof,
Now return the favor there.
Whoa!
So that's Rubio.
That's not nice.
That's not nice. No, that's going to leave a sting. So he said that, and this isn't just an offhand comment by Rubio. His campaign manager was also on CNN, and he said this.
I'm just stating the obvious. If you are a Republican primary voter in Ohio and you want to defeat Donald Trump, your best chance in Ohio is John Kasich. The same is true here in Florida, where if you want to defeat Donald Trump here in Florida, where there's 99 delegates at stake, You need to vote for Marco Rubio.
So, Alex, your answer to John, and the Rubio supporters in Ohio should vote for John Kasich. Your answer is yes?
Yeah, my answer is John Kasich is the one candidate in Ohio that can beat Donald Trump.
I think it's cool that Marco Rubio hired his campaign manager, his alter ego, to be his campaign manager. They both went to the same robotic school of responses.
Yeah. Definitely. So, look, it's definitely noteworthy. I don't often hear campaign managers say, don't vote for my candidate. Former campaign managers sometimes.
Yeah, it's so...
but it is also realistic. No, Rubio's not winning Ohio.
Do you guys think? I think that the establishment is going to get behind Trump. I think that a lot of people are saying because of how nice they were at the debate that's already started. Do you think that's already started?
It already had started. I mean, first of all, it started in some sense with Chris Christie. You know, you don't get more establishment than Chris Christie.
Mm-hmm.
9/11 first responder. I think that's what he was. Right? That's what he says, something like that. So it had already begun. And so this is, at some point, Donald Trump will wisely, and it may have been in this debate, that they were going to take a nicer tone in this debate seemed obvious because Rubio and Trump both got hurt. That's clear from the tone of the last debate. So I wouldn't put it just on this. At some point, you just say, look, man, Paul Ryan's doing it, and you heard Trump in his victory speech.
Paul Ryan's doing what?
Turning to, we're like, hey, I'm not interested. Don't call me. We're going to have a nominee. We're going to have a nominee with enough things. It's not so. And Trump was specifically at Mar-a-Lago the night the last Tuesday mentioned Paul Ryan. Like, I got a call from Paul Ryan a couple days ago.
In between the line,
it's already begun. Trump is already trying to pivot a little bit to the general election, where he will obviously change his positions. I mean, he changes them now, day by day. He'll have no trouble changing them in the general election, which is what is scariest about facing Trump. You look at the polls and you see Bernie ahead of Trump by like 14 points and Hillary ahead by 10 points, and you feel confident, right? Except he's a wild card, man. I don't want to face him, and I don't want droves of Bernie supporters to go vote for him. I very much doubt that will happen. But I don't want people who aren't engaged in the process to be fooled by this and turn out and vote for him.
They say that Trump doesn't have coattails, right? They say that he hurts everybody in the House and the Senate, and so if he does get elected, that there's a good chance that the Senate flips Democrat.
Okay, but Jimmy, let me just jump in because first of all, when you go, they say, I mean, these are the same people. They are exactly the people who've been wrong, and I'm including myself every step of the way this cycle. We haven't figured it out. Now there are people. Mitch McConnell has either said or insinuated, I learned this week, that they're more confident with Trump at the top of the ticket than Cruz. I want to run as a Democrat. I want to run against Ted Cruz more than anything in the world.
Me too.
Can't lose to him. Can't be beat. You can go ahead, sit it out, no problem. We got him beat anyway.
Yeah.
Because the problem, and it's interesting because it's a double reversal, because they think because Trump will be so crazy at the top of the ticket that you can say to all those down ticket Republicans, you have no problem saying, I'm not with the guy at the top of the ticket. Whereas Cruz is a senator. He is part of the establishment, even though he has tried to make himself stand out from the establishment. Whereas Trump, it's going to be easier for candidates to say, hey, man, don't group me in with that Trump guy. I got it.
Yeah, I don't think they'll get their ass handed to them, they'll get primaried, those people. Those people won't win.
Not for Trump. They're essentially, the party is essentially would say to them, if it's Trump, it's okay to be on your own, in a way that they couldn't do with anyone. I don't know that that's true either. I'm just saying that is a Republican.
I think that one of the fears in terms of having him at the top of the ticket is that if you believe what he says he brings all these new people who haven't previously voted and they're independents and all that. And let's say they do flock out there to vote for him. That doesn't mean that they then go down the ticket and vote for Republicans. He might bring people who, Democratic congressman, Democratic senator, that might be fine.
They're still about pulling the lever, and you bring somebody to the poll who's going to vote for Trump, that's still a person who is likely to vote for the...
More likely, perhaps.
Yeah.
I don't think we are saying it's scary because he's a wild card. I believe that they also believe it's scary because he's a wild card. But I don't think that what you're seeing here, and the strategy in Ohio and Florida, and to a lesser extent some other states, but mostly those two right now, is necessarily incompatible with them laying the groundwork to work with Trump. Like, Reince Priebus doesn't want to be totally pushed out by Trump. All of them don't, but that doesn't mean that simply because they're starting to be cordial to him, that they're not going to still try to derail it. there is still a lower than 50% chance, but a higher than 0% chance that they can stop him from getting a majority of the delegates. And one of the most important parts of that is Ohio.
But there's two steps there. Can they stop him from getting the majority of the delegates? And even if they stop him from getting a majority of the delegates, do they have it within them if he's, say, 150 delegates short? And by the way, there's 112 unpledged delegates to the Republican convention from territories and Byzantine rules. That they're not like super delegates, but they are unpledged delegates. And we're talking about a guy who might be within 100 delegates, so there will be intense pressure to get those delegates, although they're likely to be split. But if he doesn't get it, they need 1237. If he ends up with 1100 and the next highest person has 700, there's going to be overwhelming pressure among many Republicans to be like, hey, this guy basically won. So just because you get it to where there's no first ballot win doesn't mean automatically that the guy who had 1100 won't win on the second ballot. I mean, you're still subverting the will of the people as soon as you decide that we're not going to give it to this guy.
Yeah,
and there's also,
but a smaller percentage than
the head of the Republican Rules Committee, who I heard on POTUS Radio. I think he's the head of the Rules Committee. He maintains that no Republican delegate is pledged, that they are free to vote their mind on the first ballot.
That's the way it works.
I literally listened to this guy have an argument with Michael Steele on the radio, and so now those delegates.
Theoretically, he can change the rules. I suppose he can do.
No, they're already changed. He was very clear. You can vote for whomever you want. Now, why would Trump delegates vote for anyone other than Trump?
Well, because they're Trump delegates, but that doesn't mean they support Trump.
Well,
they were elected by people who support Trump, but they might hate Trump.
Yeah, but there's partly getting your people as those pledged delegates as part of the. We don't understand it clearly, but by the way,
Trump doesn't choose the delegates.
What I said, I heard the argument between Michael Steele, the former head of the RNC, and the head of the Rules Committee, who's still there, and they'd worked together, and they were arguing about the rules.
Okay, so we don't know.
They don't know.
We don't.
They don't know either. And the question is that: are these Trump delegates? Are they Trump people? When you win, is it merely a group of people that you then say? Now you have to
chosen. If you would like a full detailing of how this would probably go, the Young Turks did a breakdown of how a contested convention would actually work. In the vast majority of cases, those delegates are chosen through individual elections in the state conventions and things like that. Trump and all the other people do not say, I want this person to represent me there from this area.
Well, if that's the case, then the notion that that they would be free to abandon Trump if they felt like it on the first ballot, even though there are some Republicans who say, no, that's absolutely not true. You're bound to vote for who you're pledged to.
They are technically bound, the vast majority.
Except, I'm telling you, you say they're bound. He says no.
It's possible for the first time ever a politician's life.
No, he just said, and Michael Steele maintained that the way you're saying is the way it's always gone, but they are actually not legally bound by those rules.
Okay, well, then even more exciting.
Yeah, even more exciting. But anyway, just because he falls short at 1237 doesn't mean that there won't be overwhelming pressure to elect him anyway.
Yeah, and that's our show. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a great show.
I find that stuff fascinating.
I do too. I'm teasing.
Yeah, all it hurt.
That's why we're here. That's why we're here to talk about this stuff.
Yeah,
maybe not that long.
Go make a quick point.
Related to that, just in the brief amount of time that we have left. So let's say Rubio encourages his supporters to vote for Kasich. The polls are incredibly close, whether they show Kasich up by a little bit or they show him down by a little bit. And it might have been Jimmy before they was talking about this. It might have been JR. Had him up 5. So even if Rubio and his campaign manager tell them to support Kasich, that doesn't mean that they're all going to listen or that they're all going to hear it.
Marco Rubio can't get his voters to vote for Marco Rubio. I find it incredibly unlikely that he can get him to vote for John Kasich.
Yeah. But let's say that 1 or 2 more percentage points in a winner-take-all state, that could be all that it takes to throw, I believe, over 100 delegates to Kasich. Do you think, if you had to guess based on what you've seen, do you think that Kasich is going to end up winning in Ohio?
I don't know. I have no idea. I think Trump's going to win in Florida. He had one poll had him up 6, but 2 had him up 19 today. Another had him up 23.
What's weird is I heard that Brett Baer grossly distorted the Exxon new climate change scandal.
Do you want to do that story last?
I heard about it.
Okay. I didn't think that we'd have time based on how the entire hour had gone. But we can throw it in if we want.
Let's do a concise coverage of that story.
Okay, let's do that.
Let's go.
Okay. So if you get in the control room, get ready to start on graphic 10. We're going to skip the other story. Should should the energy companies attempting to deceive the public about the long-term impact of their forms of energy being used in terms of climate change, should they have to pay for what they've done? Well, some in government think that they should. There were comments recently by Attorney General Loretta Lynch. Now, back on Wednesday, she acknowledged that there have been discussions within the Department of Justice about possibly pursuing civil action against so-called climate change deniers. And she has other supporters, one being Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, a Democrat, who said, the similarities between the mischief of the tobacco industry pretending that the science of tobacco's dangers was unsettled, and the fossil fuel industry pretending that the science of carbon emissions dangers is unsettled, has been remarked on widely, particularly by those who study the climate denial apparatus that the fossil fuel industry has erected. Under President Clinton, the Department of Justice brought and won a civil RICO action against the tobacco industry for its fraud. Under President Obama, the Department of Justice has done nothing so far about the climate denial scheme. We have a little bit more on that report that applies both to the tobacco company and also potentially to some sort of action against the energy companies. But in advance of that actually even happening, right now it's simply things that Sheldon Whitehouse has been talking about, that Loretta Lynch acknowledges the Department of Justice is talking about. Take a look at how the media, particularly in this case, Fox News, distorts and spins these conversations in video 7.
Some of the millions of people around the world who do not believe man is responsible for global warming could soon be facing more than just mockery from the left. President Obama's top lawyer admits the government is considering much more forceful action. Chief Washington correspondent James Rosen tonight on the growing campaign against politically incorrect thinking.
Testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee, Attorney General Loretta Lynch said Wednesday the Obama administration has directed federal law enforcement to investigate whether big oil companies and other so-called climate change deniers should face civil racketeering prosecution the same way the tobacco companies did under President Clinton when cigarette makers came under fire for issuing studies denying harmful effects from smoking.
Under President Obama, the Department of Justice has done nothing so far about the climate denial scheme.
We have received information about it and have referred it to the FBI to consider whether or not it meets the criteria for what we could take action on. I'm not aware of a civil referral at this time.
Some analysts expressed concern about the disclosure, and particularly with Lynch's language, specifically her statement that the probe was initiated with the intention of seeing whether action could be taken against the groups.
The Attorney General's use of the word could is very telling, because it's not as if they're going to analyze these issues on the merits and say, would we or should we do it? They're looking for a pretext. Could we go after them?
So in that, there's a little bit of truth.
There's room to stamp liar on his forehead.
It's an indicator. It's an indicator of intelligence.
It's rare when a talking head pops up that you know before he speaks, like, oh, that guy's about to lie.
On face alone.
On face alone.
Yeah.
That guy's about to lie.
Yeah. Okay, so you heard a bit of the truth there, but you also saw that it was spun as politically incorrect thinking.
Apparently it's politically incorrect thinking to call out fake scientists that have been paid by the Koch brothers to publish so-called studies that deny that climate change either exists or deny that climate change is man-made. Climate change is man-made. There's absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Countries other than the United States have agreed that it's man-made. So the question is, are we going to do something about it, or are we going to continue to allow oil and coal companies to do whatever the hell they want with our environment because they stand to profit off of it? I love that this is even being raised as an issue.
Yeah.
We need to go after the deniers. I think that it's very similar to the tobacco case. I love that this is being compared in the public now, and hopefully people are going to stand up and do something about this.
Yeah, we've been talking about it on the Turks for 12 years, drawing that same comparison. I mean, from one of the first stories Jack and I ever did was because the tobacco thing worked so well. They paid 9 doctors, not to say that it doesn't cause cancer, just to say science is unsettled, it's unclear. And then you send a message to people in a far less sophisticated time, with no social media and limited television, for people just to go, oh man, nobody knows. You know the doctors. You know the scientists, they don't know. So.
One day they say it's bad for you, then they say
coffee's fine, this is like coffee's like eggs, right? It feels good. Yeah, it feels good.
So you just run out the clock.
You run out the clock.
Unfortunately, this time we're running out the clock on our planet.
And each 6-month period, each year that you run out the clock, it's I don't know what the number is, but it's $1 billion. So if they can delay it 3 or 4 years, then there's huge incentive to do so. And it is precisely the same methods. Just obfuscate the truth. You don't have to be on the other side. You just have to muddle it.
Yeah, and it works. It works perfectly. Look, yesterday during the Republican debate, Marco Rubio straight out denied that climate change is man-made. Straight out denied it. And so I tweeted about it because I found it outrageous, and you would assume that the majority of people would agree with you, that they would see your tweet and say, you know what, I denounce Marco Rubio because he's a moron.
And that's what happened.
And that's the exact opposite of what happened, of course. Like, I get a number of tweets from people who are like, well, there's no consensus on whether or not it's man-made. You're a fucking idiot, okay? There is a consensus. When the vast majority of scientists have agreed that it's man-made and we need to do something immediately before Miami's underwater, certainly in the next century, we need to do something about it. Stop being a fucking idiot.
Well, Marco Rubio both said that he doesn't believe it, and so he made 2 points. The first is that he doesn't believe it. The second proved that he does believe it, because he said, look, we could try to pass a law, but what's the point? We're the only ones who would abide by it, and in the meantime, India and China are going to be wrecking our climate with their emissions, so why should we bother? That point doesn't make
so
any sense.
Are we a superpower? Are we leaders in this world economy? Are we?
Hey, I'm not Marco Rubio.
Like, I know, but that's the thing. Like, they love to pound their chest and talk about how we're leaders, we're the best country. Well, then why don't we lead by example and do something about what we're doing to the environment?
It's very egotistic to think God creates the climate and He controls the climate. I mean, that's end of story.
I think that what they should do is, if Florida's so worried about the waves coming in, Trump should just build a wall around it, around all of Florida,
and have the waves pay for it.
I heard they were going to drop Chris Christie in the bay there, and then that was going to
the Biscayne Bay.
Yeah,
that would have helped.
Wow. Well, now that Trump has him backing him, he doesn't need that wall.
First of all, no offense, we could let Florida go. Everything would be fine.
Agreed.
We have a lot of amazing
There's a
viewers
lot of
in
Cubans
Florida right
in Florida.
now.
I want to say that.
Get out. Then they can come. They can go. They can come
to California. A lot of room out here.
Yeah. Come to California. Actually, you know what?
The beginning of that clip had Brett Baer saying some of the millions with that incredible, snarky, attempt to be failed snarky cynicism. Some of the millions of people around the world who don't believe climate change is man-made. I mean, insert any number of things there. Some of the millions of people around the world who don't believe that black people has the same intellect as white people. You can say anything you want after you say that, but it doesn't. Just because you say some and millions in the same sentence doesn't make the nonsense, the malarkey you're about to spew forth true.
Millions of people around the world who think Jews are the devil people.
That's right. They can say it like that, and there are millions of those people, and the evidence is unclear. There's no evidence disproving that I'm half devil.
Yeah, there's probably a good overlap in those things, actually.
I don't know. I've said once in a while, I'm pretty sure I can see like a little horn on that. Just a little bit.
Okay, well, thank you guys for joining us in the first hour. I'm going to be heading off, but there will be a second hour, which will be amazing. Is there anything people should, in particular, stick around for?
It's going to be a Dromsy hour. Specifically, yeah, you guys are going to love it. We're going to show you sexy videos of ads that make it on network television, and then sexy ads that don't make it.
All right.
The only difference is whether the women are too curvy.
Yeah.
Insane story.
And the only question is, do you make it all the way through both?
Yeah.
And then I did want to give you just the initial early returns. It's just a few hundred votes. The question was, if Bernie loses the primary, do you want to guess? Yeah. If Bernie loses the primary, will you vote for Hillary? Question, what percentage said yes?
Said yes? Of Young Turks viewers?
Young Turks said yes.
Young Turks live viewers.
They will vote for Hillary.
They will vote for Hillary. Okay.
I'm going to say 18%.
18%, you say?
I have 29. 71 no, 29%.
And Anna?
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry,
I'll text it to you.
Yeah.
So, yes was 41% of the vote. No, 59% of the vote. That's about 260 votes. So still early. We'll see tomorrow what's happening.
Good. Reasonable. More reasonable people than
more reasonable. Yeah. We'll see what happens as we go through this. Hopefully we'll never have to worry about this.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Anna will be reading some of your hashtag TYT lives as we start the second hour. See you in just a few.
So, Jodie Foster's directing a movie that's coming out, Money Monster. George Clooney's in it, Julia Roberts in it, Jane Huber's in it. What is this?
You're not really in it. You're not actually playing a role in it. You're just kind of like sticking around, aren't you?
What is this? This is not bullshit. This is not like the last Jodie Foster movie I was in.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like you're in the background, like.
I gotta tell you this, because on shoptyt.com, there's a shirt that's relevant to the story.
where I'm in the background in Contact with Matthew McConaughey's in the foreground, and then it says Bug Life.
Really?
Yes.
I haven't seen that shirt. That's fucking awesome.
No, I'm one of the news guys that's amazed by what's happening. You know, you see that in the movies all the time, but normally they'd go to the CNN or MSNBC hosts,
Yeah.
and I'm sure they'll do that in their movie as well, but they're going to come to TYT.
That's cool.
No, that's not cool. That's super cool. We're going to get drunk and go to that bar over there with, like, he became like Buzz immediately. And then she's leaving. All right, see you later, Jody.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. Are you Bart? Are you going to see her later?
I'm just doing what's right.
Yes, go back to that.
Mexico's going to pay for the wall.
So good.
Very, very big price.
I can't finish it because you're so good.
Is that your girlfriend? No, it's a restricted number. When are you coming to my office? LOL. Maybe it's your buddy Phil. Remember growing up, he was never the sharpest knife. It's a knife thing. Yeah, you know what? It might be. So, how's Mom? Mom's great, buddy. Listen, you gonna show me those pictures from your trip or what? Yeah. Why am I looking at a half-naked picture of the President of the United States? What? No, you're not. Let me see. That's him, buddy. That's it. That's gotta be Photoshop. That's the President of the United States, and he's sexting someone. I got an idea. What are you saying? House of Cards and chill? What does that mean? It means basically like hooking up with someone better. Okay. What? I'd like to see you do better. Bam! Let's see it. Will you be the closest to my POTUS? What? That means First Lady of the United States, and I'm the President. All right. How about I give you an LBJ until you're Warren G. Harding? Harding. Yeah. Oh, shit. Texted back. Want to get James K. Pope under the Lincoln Monument again. Again? What? Who does he think he's sexting? Oh, it's the classic John Hancock pickup line. I would have expected more from Obama. Oh, God, no. Holy shit, talk about your stimulus package. The president sent you a dick pic and it took 2 photos. That better not be the president's Liberty Bells, or I am voting Republican for the rest of my life. It's about time. How about, you're gonna slip me your John Boner on the way out the door? Not your best work. I think I can't be generous. You want me to keep my George W. Bush, or do you want it as bare as the taxpayers' wallets? No, I want it as rough as the roads I'm paying to drive on. All right, I'll be at the phone store if you need me.
Welcome to the third life.
Welcome to Nerd Alert, everyone. We have an exciting show for you this week.
Glad to communicate with all the nerds out there.
What's beautiful about geeks is geeks are open to everybody. That's the thing. It's like, so you got your thing, I got my thing. It's like, and if you're not, then you're a bad geek.
Why did you choose Battlestar Galactica? Because it's awesome? No. Kidding. The floor is not lava. Yucky! Oh, my nightmare!
And there's one very special characteristic that many men have been interested in. Penis size. What's up, friend?
Yeah, I know that curve.
And that movie is the Valentine's Day romantic classic, Deadpool. Who should we trust here? Our hearts? Our heads?
Yes.
J.J. Abrams? Isn't that right? How can you improve pizza? With math, of course.
If we spilled goldfish crackers on the floor and we didn't want to clean them up, so we thought that if we stomped on them an infinite amount of time, they would mathematically cease to exist.
We are ready for a Wonder Woman movie. Oh, wait, no, let me correct myself. We were ready for a Wonder Woman movie years ago.
I love my job.
Great movie or the greatest movie ever made in the history of cinema?
I love this movie.
That was great.
Oh, damn.
I was just totally dazzled in every way.
What the hell was that?
It was insane. Cut. Shut up, movie.
It just fails on like every single level.
Michael Bay.
It is so rapid fire.
Terrifying. Carbon. Nuts. That was just ridiculous.
Was it written by ABBA?
He's pulling strings like Yo-Yo Ma.
You'll pay for the whole scene?
Until all the way to the end.
Hey guys, welcome back to TYT. Awesome news for you. We have a new panelist on the show that we've never had on before. I'm super excited about it. Kenny Hamilton joins us. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Now, for those of you who are wondering who Kenny is, he's a social and celebrity brand influencer. You have worked with Justin Bieber, and you've also done some political commentary, so that's pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, we're excited to have you.
Well, thank you. Really appreciate it. Watch you guys all the time from my phone and on my computer, so it's really great to be here.
All right.
When did you work for Justin Bieber? From the time he was about 14 until 20 years old, about 2 years ago. Wow. My best friend discovered him, so Justin, myself, and we all moved from Atlanta out here about 6 years ago.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And I still work in music and management and things like that as well, so
that's awesome.
Kind of stay moving.
All right, we are going to read your TYT lives, but before I do so, actually I'm going to read them after we come back from break. But I do want to give you guys some info about the post-game show that Malcolm and Dave just recently filmed, because it sounds really interesting. Some of the topics that they discussed was some inside baseball about the behind-the-scenes goings-on at TYT, which kind of worries me. I have no idea what they talked about. Etiquette for dealing with homeless people at stoplights, which is interesting. Also a New York Times story about the heroin epidemic and how it may be affecting TYT.
Oh, that's true. I totally have theories about who here uses heroin.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. No one here uses heroin, at least. Really?
Think again.
Oh, okay. Well, you're just going to have to watch the post-game show to find out. If you're not a member, all you need to do is go to tytnetwork.com/join. Members help support our show. We could not do what we do without you guys. So we love you and thank you so much.
The first 2 years I was here, I was unblanketed. So I'm just throwing that out.
Do you, boo? Whatever it takes to get through the day. All right, let's do some stories for you guys. Earlier this week, we covered a story involving a gun fanatic from Florida who was unfortunately shot by her 4-year-old son in the back of her truck. Now, she miraculously survived. She is currently in stable condition. However, the media caught up with her mother to kind of get a sense of how she's doing and what the family feels about the whole situation. And it turns out that Jamie Gilt, the woman who was shot, does not plan on changing anything about her behavior, even after this terrible event. Now, Guilt, 31, is in a stable condition and faces criminal charges after her son found a fully loaded .45 caliber handgun next to his child booster seat and pulled the trigger.
Where did this happen?
This happened in Florida.
No way!
Weird, right?
In Florida.
Not only in Florida, but it seems that they're like in the sticks outside of Gainesville, which is even more backwards area.
More Florida.
Yeah, I mean,
There's a town called Palaka.
Territory.
Yeah, I don't know Palaka.
well, the mother did describe the area they live in as the country and basically said, look, we all have guns, we all use guns, we all love guns. We're not going to change our culture and who we are as a result of this tragic event. Now, family members said Jamie Guilt will still be pro-gun despite being almost despite being almost killed in an accidental shooting in her truck. Jane Bramble, who's her mother, said, this was an accident, nothing more. All the gun control people are jumping on this, but it will not change her opinion about owning guns. She's very pro-gun and will not change her opinion about owning them. She will keep her guns, and I'm happy that she will. So I just want to make a quick comment about this. Look, no one is saying, like, let's ban guns. All these people living in the country, or all these people living in Florida should not have any access to guns. Law-abiding citizens who are responsible should have the right to access guns, right? But if you are so irresponsible that you place a loaded weapon so close to your 4-year-old son that he has the ability to grab it and shoot it, well then, you're not responsible enough to own something that will kill people, that was purposely made with the intention of killing. That's what guns are for.
You know what? I'm with her though, and I'm also for kids drinking and doing drugs. I'm for not wearing seatbelts. So everything that's wrong and bullshit, I'm for it. That's what she sounds like, right?
They should let the kids drive.
Yeah, why not let kids drive? Why not let 4-year-olds vote? Why not?
Then you could sit in the passenger seat. Shoot out the window.
Yeah, because I'm pro-freedom.
Here's the thing. I grew up in the South, and I get it. I'm also an NRA member. Yes, I am a Democrat. She is guilty of being careless. Now, there's a thing that I definitely believe in, the right to bear arms and having guns. However, you have to be responsible in where you carry the guns. Now, I'm not sure what the Florida laws are, but each state says you have to carry it in the glove compartment. You can't carry a gun with the magazine in it. It has to be separate. It just depends on the laws. However, she is just guilty of being dumb.
No question. Yeah, she's got a great name.
If you could really prosecute her for being dumb, she needs to get the best possible situation for that. So, I mean, like I said,
so you're in the NRA. Would it be reasonable for a law to pass? And obviously, no one is getting it. As Anna said, nobody's talking about passing a law. Unfortunately, nobody's talking about passing a law that would restrict gun ownership to that extent. A different world. That's not the country we live in. I get that. But could this family, as a result of this, be banned from owning a gun for 5 years? Like, that strikes me as that's a punishment. They would feel that. That strikes me as no, reasonable. You leave a gun in the car for a 4-year-old to pick up and shoot himself or him. And thankfully no one was killed here. You can't own a gun until 2020. It's some significant
that I'm all for. Just like DUI or anything else, when they say you can't operate a vehicle, they take your license. Yeah, your gun license should be revoked for having something, this tragedy happen. What if the kid turned the gun around and shot himself?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Thank God that didn't happen, right? But usually when these issues come up, and I mentioned this when we originally covered the story, the debate immediately goes to both extremes, right? You have the gun advocates wanting to, protect their rights to own guns, and they don't want any regulations. Let's loosen regulations that'll keep everyone safer, even in situations like this. And then you have non-gun advocates saying, no, we need to ban, we need to make it harder to get these guns. Why don't we, at least for the time being, since no one can agree and we can't actually get anything passed or done about situations like this, focus on gun safety, right? Just common sense gun legislation that would, make sure that what Ben just mentioned happens. If you show that you're irresponsible, if you give your 4-year-old access to guns, something that she was actually bragging about on Facebook or social media, right before this happened, a day before this happened, well then you do not deserve that.
And we may be getting hammered from NRA members, not you, but others, because maybe those laws exist. Maybe in Florida they can strip the. They don't. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Because we would have heard about it by now.
So obviously, I don't know what the rules are here, because the fact of the matter is, accidents like this are going to happen. You can increase the punishment for when accidents happen. But
an accident is if you trip. and your gun goes off. An accident isn't illegal.
Okay, I'll tell you. You're right. Okay, criminal
negligence,
criminal carelessness, criminal negligence. When it happens, we can make a punishment for that more extreme. That's not going to change any of the psychopaths getting guns, or just slightly unhinged or angry that day people or that week people from getting guns and murder. And the NRA would point out there already are laws to stop that. Those are really what we need to talk. This story, while tragic, is separate from the mania of mass shootings that we experience.
Of course. And also as a parent, I mean, the negligence goes to another level. The type of gun that they're describing has a safety on it. So why wasn't there safety on it?
So in addition to it being loaded and in the car and access to the 4-year-old, the safety was off. Right.
So she's the worst advocate for pro guns in the world.
She would be the worst.
So let me ask you a question. As an NRA member, from what I've come across is that the NRA leadership and the NRA membership aren't on the same page. Would you find yourself?
Yes, with a lot of people. I'll be honest. When I first joined, I was in the Navy as well. So a lot of gun shows and other places like that, we get discounts. Mm-hmm. We get discounts on a lot of different weapons and things like that. And so my father is included. You know, we collect different weapons, but also it's for protection. But there are other things, and I have friends that go hunting and things of that nature. So to answer that question, yes, there are people that are on different pages. As I said, I'm a liberal, but there are a lot of conservatives that are on this whole other agenda of what, gun safety and different laws and regulations should be. I do think that there should be regulations. I do think that there should be consequences when there are, stupid incidents and idiotic things like this where a child is,
Because that's what I've come across, right? So like most NRA members are for sensible regulation and stuff like that, but their leadership isn't for any of that, which is kind of funny that your organization has kind of been hijacked by these people.
I don't work for the NRA.
No, just a group or whatever.
Exactly, for sure. I don't.
I know.
Twitter now and they say, "Oh, he's speaking for the NRA," but no, you're completely right. But the leadership is all ran by conservatives.
Do you think ever? I'm putting you on the spot here. It's a little unfair, but do you think ever? You know what? I'm not paying any more dues. If I still can own a gun. I don't have to be in the damn NRA.
Well, moving to California, I thought about that, but I mean, it is like $25 at this point. So
might as well.
All right, so let's move on from one outrageous story to the next.
Okay. Also, you know what? It gives. The nice thing is it gives Kenny extra credibility.
Being
in the NRA, like it's worth it to pay the $25, so you could say, "Yeah, I'm in the NRA," and Wayne LaPierre is a douche, which is what I heard you say. That's what you said. I heard that. Yeah, I heard that. Okay.
All right. Joe's Crab Shack in Minnesota, or at least one Joe's Crab Shack in Minnesota, is facing a great deal of criticism after they decided to use a photograph showing a lynching in the 1800s, and they displayed it as art. So let me give you the details on that. Apparently, they used this photograph of a lynching, and it's clearly mentioned that it's a hanging of an individual back in 1895, on the table of one of their restaurants in Roseville, Minnesota. Okay. Now, it appeared to show a large group of white people watching a public execution of at least one black person. On the bottom of the picture, it reads, "Hanging at Brucebeck, Texas, on April 12, 1895. At the top, the caption reads, "All I said was I didn't like the gumbo."
It's so funny because they serve gumbo.
Wow. So a couple went over there to eat, and they see this on the table, and they were shocked at what they saw. And so, of course, they criticized them. The story went to the press, and now Joe's Crab Shack, this particular one, has taken that down, and they have apologized for what they've done. But the fact that they needed the criticism to realize that it was wrong is telling. This is the country we live in right now, where
jaw-dropping, isn't it?
It's not to me. It really isn't.
Well,
because you see a lot of stuff like this all the time, all over the place.
I see a lot of it.
I can't believe it. And it's in a corporate environment like that.
Well, you gotta understand, they have probably over 130 something stores across the country.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, in Roseville, which is a suburb of Minneapolis, St. Paul, it's this is an example of the state of our union present day, in the sense of, and I feel like Donald Trump is a big blame of this, because in his racist rhetoric, it's bringing out a lot of the closet racists that have been in the closet for so many years. And now they feel comfortable to come out and, yes, I don't want this, and yes, I don't want that. For that picture to be under the glass on a table meant that it went through a manager,
right.
It went through a general manager.
That's what I
mean.
It
went through a lot of people, and it took a black couple to go to have dinner.
That's also what I
They wanted all you can eat crab legs. I love crab legs.
Sure, I got you. I put up with a lot for the kind of food that I like, not crab legs, by the way. But I would have been moderately more pleased with the story if, I don't know what the number is, if 138 or maybe 538 or maybe 1,538 white people hadn't sat at that table. Like, I am positive, I know for a fact, knowing me, I do not see that. I know this for you too, Jimmy. We would not see it. We would take a picture of that and we would send it to newspapers.
Yes.
At first, I'd be like, what? No way, they're being lynched. And they're not being lynched. I get, odds are 1895 in Grossback, Texas, they're not being lynched for a real crime either.
Exactly.
It's insane. I don't know. I think that's the worst part of the story, knowing that so many people saw it and did absolutely nothing about it. Like, it was just the most normal thing to see as, displayed as art at a restaurant. It's crazy.
And, was it David Candelano, who's from Ignite Restaurant Group, who owns Joe's? Of course they have to speak out. Because they want everyone in California, in Georgia, in Colorado, wherever else there's restaurants are, to, continue to go. So that's like the quintessential idea of damage control.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the example right there. Let me save our company right now, and we'll just fire this asinine employee and the manager, and we'll keep moving.
Yeah, let me read you their apology. This is Graphic 13. We sincerely apologize to our guests who were disturbed by the image, and we look forward to continuing to serve the Roseville community. I don't know.
Insufficient.
It's so insufficient, right? It's just not enough. It's not enough. Now, the NAACP is calling for them to do more. They want them to donate money to an organization that helps, underprivileged Black youth. I think they should absolutely do that. They need to go further. They need to understand that this is not a laughing matter, and it's unacceptable to use photos of lynchings as comedic relief at your establishment.
When I first read the story, I was just praying these guys that the whole, because no matter who these guys are, what we know about the death penalty now to know what we know about the death penalty in 1895, let's pretend these guys were white, right? Which I was praying, because that at least removes one hideous component of this. Right. But the fact is, whoever we lynched in 1895, 50-50 proposition that we got the right guy.
Right.
And whatever it is, it's a public spectacle of people gathering around to witness a murder. And cheering it. And cheering it is everything that is disgusting with America. And as you say, Kenny, everything that Donald Trump has sort of made us sort of celebrate. And there are plenty of people here when we see that hat and Make America Great Again, that we're like, when we could just say, hey, you know what? Did you look at that white woman? Well, that's it. That was what America
60 years ago, those hats were sheets.
Right. Emmett Till was lynched in what, 1954?
1955, Mississippi.
Right.
All right.
Jesus.
So this guy knows Emmett Till.
So you don't think this is just another case of political correctness gone wild? Like, you can't even have a picture of a lynching in a restaurant anymore? What is this coming to?
College kids are ruining everything.
We're done with this.
It's just a gumbo joke. It was a gumbo joke
about the food.
Yeah, come on.
All right. Well, there's another case involving severe discrimination, and it has to do with a photo store. So let's get to that. The Department of Labor is suing B&H for its alleged discrimination against Latino workers. Now, B&H is a store that specializes in photo and video technology, and despite the fact that they have gone through criticisms and investigations for segregating its employees before in the past, apparently they're still doing it. So let me give you the details on that. The Department of Labor slapped B&H photo video with a civil lawsuit last week detailing 15 alleged counts of racial and gender discrimination. The suit comes in addition to a fine from the Occupational Safety and Health Administration and a series of damning testimonies from B&H's recently unionized workers. Now, one of the things that they did was, as soon as some of their workers unionized, of course, the heads at B&H did not like that, so they retaliated by firing some of them. Okay, so that was part of the problem. But let me give you some more information about that. The facility's workforce is divided along racial lines, with management, supervisory, and mid-level positions filled predominantly by white men. Members of the company's Hispanic staff say B&H used intimidation tactics, even firing the entire cleaning department when the workers attempted collective bargaining. They also apparently like to segregate their workers based on which bathrooms they can use. So the Latino workers, or the Hispanic workers, I should say, are in a lower floor of the building, and their bathrooms are disgusting, according to the testimony, right? They're saying that it's not clean, oftentimes out of order, and very, very different from the bathrooms that the white employees use. So modern-day segregation, this is insane.
Wow.
Yes.
I've shopped at B&H online.
So have I.
But I never
Before I
will
thought
again.
about this.
Yeah, I'm never going to shop there again.
Neither am
You
I.
can go to Sammy's.
Yeah.
Sammy's.
So let me give you more details. This segregated workforce was in full force in the B&H's Brooklyn Navy Yard warehouse, where, according to the Department of Labor, the company hired approximately 100 Hispanic individuals and not a single black or Asian worker. B&H did not hire any women, the suit alleges. The warehouse lacked women's bathrooms and changing rooms, the Labor Department said. The offensive conditions pervaded the workplace, where Hispanic warehouse workers had unequal access to basic hygienic restroom facilities. Hispanic workers had no option but to use unsanitary and often inoperable restrooms, which were separate and apart from superior restrooms used by white warehouse workers.
And so this also, before, and I know the criticism I hear from you that when we do racialist stories that we get vilified for making everything racist.
Yeah, we're race baiting.
Right,
we were the ones that made B&H segregate their
black guys.
That's right, totally, yeah, right. So the previous story about, that's also up on the site about Joe's Crab Shack in a suburb of Minneapolis putting a placemat of on the table showing a lynching of two black guys in 1895, right? Talking is an indication that racism has been crushed in this country and we don't have to worry about it. And here, this is not a complaint filed, right? That maybe we could argue that, hey, these people just looking to get theirs. I wouldn't believe that, but you could. The Department of Labor has investigated, and this is their report, correct?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. And this isn't the first time, as I had mentioned earlier, that this particular store has had to deal with this type of negative attention. Apparently, they have a long history of it, so let me get to that. This is Graphic 21. In 2007, B&H was to pay a $4.3 million settlement after the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission accused the company guilty of discriminating against Hispanic employees.
Yeah, by the way, that's the EEOC at the Justice Department under George Bush, by the way.
In 2007, and they still didn't right their wrongs. They still continued doing what they were doing.
I don't even know what this company does. What do they do?
They sell electronics.
They're huge. They're like outsourced for cameras and video equipment and all things like that. So
they're huge.
Yeah, really big and mad.
Are they huge or huge? Huge.
I mean, but isn't this a perfect example of a company trying to keep labor as cheap as possible? And as soon as the people, they try to. It seems like they're trying to use that stereotype of, Hispanics, you can get cheap labor from them.
Mm-hmm.
You drive to a Home Depot or a Lowe's in certain places and you have the day laborers, and instead of me paying your company $20 an hour, I'll pay this guy $5 and everything is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem is once they got smart and someone started, speaking to them from the warehouse side, they're like, wait a minute, if they just did this, we can do this. So then you wipe everyone out after 15 years? There's no way that they can't get found guilty.
What is it that America, I get why B&H doesn't want their employees to unionize, right? Because it costs B&H executives, shareholders, costs them money, right? They don't want to do it. At least I understand it, and they're wrong, but I understand it. Why, when millions and millions of Americans with jobs read this story and think, oh yeah, well they wanted to unionize, why do we have hostility in this country to unions, of which like 6% of the private workforce is in unions? It tops out at like 9% or 10%, and that's if you count public sector unions, teachers, firefighters, those nurses, nurses. So like, my wife's aunt was a teacher and now is an advisor to principals at the New York City school system. And now she sort of retired and turned into that job. And she's on a cruise ship, right, to tour Peru, the worst cruise ever. And
why?
No, it's just an unusual place.
Yeah.
She's an interesting person. She likes to see the world. So it was around Latin America. And of course, so she gets questioned by everybody else on the ship. A couple conversations on the cruise she was recounting where she's like, oh yeah, living on that teacher's pension. And And so she gets defensive, explaining the hard work she did and the little money she made. And why does she have to defend having a pension?
Right.
Everyone should have a good pension. Everyone should make a little bit of money when they have their pension. And why is there this nonsensical hostility toward people being able to retire from their jobs and live on something other than a Social Security check? And so no, you're right. She doesn't have to eat tuna out of a can. Everyone should want that pension. Everyone should want it. But again, it's because she somehow rooked the system. And I thought of your incredible joke about the teachers, hiding their wealth.
Their teachers got all the money. Furthermore, are you kidding me? But there goes another teacher taking a sack of money out to their turf self. So, what that's about, Ben, is that it's easier to con someone than to convince someone they've been conned, right? So what they do is it's the oldest trick in the book. You turn working people against slightly poorer and more desperate working people.
Yes.
Donald Trump's doing it. It's the Mexicans.
Yes.
They're taking your job. It's not the Mexicans, right? We all know it's a fucked up trade system that's screwing over our workers in America. So that's what that is. And you know what? That's a good way that I think of someone. I think Bill Moyers made the point that that's a way for Bernie Sanders to kind of appeal to the Trump blue-collar voter, is to say that racism hurts everybody, right? They're using racism to split you people, to split white workers and black workers, and we got to be aware of that because we need to come together and fight at the top, right? And so that's a good way to do it. And that's exactly why. The media is not owned by workers, right? The newspapers are owned by Jeff Bezos. They're owned by multinational corporations that run TV news. So that's why it's the propaganda that's over and over. The culture, it reflects the ruling class. It doesn't reflect us. So this is all these things. That's all the right. And so it's really easy to manipulate people who are low information, and their instinct is to go, oh, I see a black guy, I see a Mexican, I see somebody from China, I see somebody different than me taking something that I have. And the government, and when I was interviewing people at the Republican caucus in Nevada, I was interviewing a guy from the Philippines. And he was angry at immigrants too. Instead of like, hey, I came here as an immigrant, he was in the Navy. Right. He was upset that now the Mexicans are coming here and the government gives them everything. Which again, that's that whole thing. They listen. They're in a right-wing bubble. That Breitbart tells them that the government's giving stuff. They're giving Obama phones to black people. They're giving all the free stuff. So that's what all that is. It's the constant bombardment that working people get from the media. That who's screwing them over isn't the person who runs the media. It's not the person who runs your corporation. It's somebody poorer than you and a little more desperate. And like I always say, if you find yourself being angry at someone lower on the economic ladder than you, pretty good chance you're being manipulated by someone higher on the economic ladder than you.
It's a way of them distracting the middle class and the working class from what's actually holding them down. And that's the system that's been put in place.
And that's even, there's a lot of homeless people in this country that have jobs. And there are a lot of homeless people that may work harder than someone else, or this person may work harder than you, or this may just be a part-time job for you. But however, your coworker has 3 kids by herself, and she's trying to support herself. So, of course, a company's going to say, okay, we'll pay her $10, make her work 80 hours a week. We'll pay him, $12, make him work 60 hours a week. And people are okay with that. And it's been going on for so long, and that system is just as twisted as it is, it won't stop. Or will it? Or, how do we make it stop?
Bernie could help.
Yeah, and by the way, Ben's story resonates with me so much because, in the area that I live in, it's interesting because you see the wealth disparity so much, right? You see these beautiful, big, multi-million-dollar houses. I don't live in one of them. I live in a little one-bedroom apartment. But if I go on my jogs, right, I come across so many homeless people that are, like, retirement age, like elderly people that are homeless. And so that story resonated with me because what do people want? Do you want people to not have anything to retire on? To be lonely and poor and live on the streets? I mean, think about the position you're in when you're elderly, right? Who's going to hire you if you don't have a retirement to fall back on? Like, I don't know, my heart aches for that.
My mom's out here in Florida and out here in California now. We moved her out from Florida. She's 90. Her best friend just turned 80. And her best friend has to work. She's trying to find a job. And it was funny, but she's like, I'd like to work at, she said to me on the phone, she goes, I think I'd like to work in Amazon. She said, because I can be at home and they don't have to see an 80-year-old lady.
Oh my God, I'm gonna start crying.
Right.
I can't handle those kinds of stories.
Florida's a retirement state. When you go in any of those grocery stores, you'll see a lot of elderly people that are working, and that just shows you the state of how the country is right now, and how you retire, would like to retire. My father retired, and then he started working again. You have to.
Let's end with this. We're taping this on this clip will be up all weekend. We're taping this on Friday. So most people watching aren't working tomorrow. You know why you're not working tomorrow? Because a union got you the weekend off.
All right, let's take a break. I'm going to read your TYT lives when we come back, so make sure you tweet to us.
¿Listo? Pero si no terminó. Adiós, este nene está terrible. John, come and take this one too.
Hey guys, welcome back to TYT. A bunch of people are tweeting to me about protesters blocking